Hey Phoenix, what's up, girl? What's going on? Hey Melissa, how are you? It's only, well, it is afternoon. Well, not evening, because it's only 4 o'clock here. Well, almost four. Not quite four, but almost. Hey Demona. So I said today we're going to talk about childhood trauma. And the reason why I brought that up is because yesterday I had a really interesting memory from my childhood that just popped up in my, I don't know if I had a dream about this or what, but the memory came back so vivid. So, I was a church girl, grew up in the church, and there was this boy at my church who every Sunday would torment me. Like he would pull my hair, he would kick my chair, he would just do all of these things to irritate me. And I don't know if it was, because he liked me or he just didn't like me. Because my mother had talked to his grandmother because he would come to church with his grandmother. My mother would talk to his grandmother would talk to him, like my mom even talked to him, and was kind of like, we were young kids, and my mother was kind of like, why are you bothering her? Leave her alone. Y'all are brothers and sisters in Christ. You should be protecting her. She's a girl. You shouldn't be treating her like this. And he would listen to her maybe for one Sunday, and the next Sunday he would, go right back to doing what he was doing, which was absolutely too much. And in that, I felt so hopeless and alone because I literally wanted my mom to beat him up or something. But he was a child just like me. And, there was only so much that she could do. And at one point, I didn't even want to go to church because I didn't want to have to deal with this boy. I knew he was going to be there and he was going to get on my nerves. And I felt like my mom was forcing me into a situation where I was being literally abused by another child. And people were not taking it serious enough for me. Because had that been an adult, it would have been taken care of. But because it was a kid, people didn't, take it serious. They just thought, I don't know if they thought that I was being too sensitive or what, but they didn't take that situation as serious as I wanted them to. And it just really did something to me as a kid. Like, I can remember waking up Sunday morning having just very serious anxiety about going to church because I knew that this boy was going to get on my nerves. And my friends, the people that I thought were my friends who, really like we all grew up together at this church. We all basically had known each other since we were young. And this boy had like recently started coming to church with his grandmother. The people that I thought were my friends weren't even stepping in and telling him to stop. Like they would tell him to stop, but he would just keep doing it. And that was traumatic for me as a really quiet kid who didn't bother anybody, who was going to church. I wasn't going to church to be abused. I was going to church to enjoy church. And then I had this abuser. Like, I couldn't have been more than 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that age group, because I was old enough to remember. And for some reason, yesterday, all of those feelings just came flooding back to me. Those feelings of not being heard, you know, feelings of not being protected as much as I wanted, feeling of being scared and alone. All of those feelings came back. And this was something that happened to me when I was very young. And I had to like sit in those feelings yesterday and wonder, why are they coming back? Like, I didn't try to suppress the feelings. Like, I really wanted to, try to understand why these feelings were coming back, and why was I having, these type of feelings when I was having them. And I want you guys to understand that everybody has a past. Everybody. And we don't know what childhood traumas or what are some of the things that people have been through in their life, because I have very serious abandonment issues, because my biological mother, gave me up for adoption when I was 5 years old. Now, I knew who she was. It was part of the adoption that she could keep in contact with me. She could see me. She could come and visit me. All of those things were in the adoption. And my adopted mother was fine with her, being able to see me, because all of that was in the adoption. That, it wasn't just she could have pictures of me. No, she could see me and come and visit me, and I was to know who she was and everything. Even though I knew who she was, and I, talked to her, and the story was told to me. I, when I got older, I understood, but there is still abandonment issues there. The person that brought you into this world did not want you, or could not take care of you. That's an issue. And if people are telling you that things that happen to them in their childhood does not affect them, that's a red flag for me, because we all have things that have happened to us, younger, older, whatever, that will still come to our mind. Now, have I resolved those issues? Yeah. But sometimes they still come up, and they come up in like the weirdest, um, just like the weirdest time. They will come up, just like the incident with that boy. Like, I can remember his name, his grandmother's name. Do I know her now? I know her last name. I can't remember her first name. But I can remember his name. I can remember what he looked like, everything. All of that stuff I can remember. So, this is childhood trauma is often described as serious adverse childhood experiences. Children may go through a range of experiences that classify as psychological trauma, that might include neglect, abandonment, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, witnessing abuse of a sibling or parent, or having a mentally ill parent. These events have profound psychological, physiological, and sociological impacts and can have negative, lasting effects on health and well being, such as unsocial behaviors, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, and sleep disturbances. Now, one thing about me, I've always had problems ever since I was a kid going to sleep. Always. Now, I never had problems in school, like, being hyperactive or anything like that, because when I was young, I was one of those kids that wanted to be good. And I think I wanted to be good so that my mother that adopted me wouldn't have any problems with me. Because I really feel like in the back of my mind, I didn't want her to give me away too. So I was always an extra good kid. I never caused anybody any problems. That was one thing that my mother, even as an adult, my mother had always said, that I was a good child. I didn't cause her no problems. She never had to, go to the police station to get me out. I've never had anything other than a speeding ticket. So, I didn't want to be a problem for her because I probably felt like I had already been a problem for my mother, but I had to grow up to realize that my mother was an alcoholic and her problem wasn't me. Her problem was alcohol. But it took me a while to understand that. Like I didn't understand that until I was like a teenager. Like really, and then I didn't really understand the real impact of her alcoholism until I was an adult. Sundance Girl said, I had a boy torment me in high school. I told my mom, he stopped. Come to find out years later, he had a crush on me, but he has now passed away. Our parents had a meeting and that made him stop bothering me. Our parents had a meeting that made him stop bothering me for maybe one Sunday. And then he went right back to being the person he was. And he would do slick stuff like sit behind me, kick my seat, pull, my hair. So not really hard, but just enough to let me know I'm pulling your hair or, kicking my seat. Just really dumb stuff is what he would do. But it was enough to really irritate me and bother me to the point where I didn't even want to go to church. I was so over going to church. I just because I didn't want to be bothered with this kid. I didn't even want to do it. And I was like, could remember being upset with my mom because I feel like you're not listening to me. This boy is driving me crazy. I want to stay home. But here you are, here I am growing up in this, very Baptist household that believed, you are going to go to church. You can't stay home from the only way you stayed home from church is if you were sick. So I wasn't sick. This boy was just getting on my nerves. But I really felt like, no one was really listening to me the way that I wanted them to hear me. Like they couldn't hear how bad this boy was getting on my nerves and how it was making me feel. And so we have to understand that a lot of people that we are in relationships with are dealing with things that happened to them in their past, unresolved things, unresolved because they don't want to deal with it. Instead of sitting in those feelings like I did yesterday, really talking to myself, asking myself, do I still feel unheard? Do I, am I going through a period where I feel unheard? Is there, am I having a problem with my communication? Is my throat chakra, blocked? Is that something that I need to work on? Like, why, you know, were those things being brought back to my memory? Like, are they being brought back to my memory for me to, expound on a lesson that hopefully I have already learned? Or were they being brought to my attention to, for me to talk about them so that other people can maybe have some healing in some of the things that they're going through. TJ said some people would rather push those memories to the back of their mind, meaning they deny the trauma ever happening. That's so true. So true. Instead of dealing with the trauma. And see, I've been to therapy, and I'm not, ashamed to say I've been to therapy. There was so much shit I had to work out in therapy. I would have not been anywhere near the person that I am now had I not been to therapy. Because if you are the type of person to just push down, push down, push down instead of resolving and working through a lot of those things that have happened to you, you're never going to be good for anybody. Because every time you get into a relationship and things get tough, or things get rocky, those emotions will come up and you have no idea how to process them. Sundance, you were adopted too? Yeah, I was adopted when I was 5 years old. Well, the adoption was final when I was 5 years old, but I have been living with my adopted mother on and off since I was two because she was my aunt. But it was final when I was five. So if you are not processing these things that happen to you in your childhood, if you have just put those things in the recesses of your mind and think that they're not going to come back, they are. And they're going to come back in every avenue of your life. They're going to come back in your work because you're not going to, be able to deal with other people, maybe in your communication, with you not having the ability to communicate effectively with other people, especially if you grew up in a household where there was a lot of cursing and the communication was more on the volatile side than the normal side, because I know a lot of people who haven't grown up in households that were quiet. They can't be quiet because they didn't grow up in a household that was quiet. They grew up in a household that was chaotic. And so that's all they're used to. If there's no chaos going, if it's not a lot of loud music, if people aren't arguing, then they're not happy. And see, I grew up in a very quiet household. And so I get extremely anxious if I'm at somebody's house and their house is too loud, is too many people, is too much going on, is too much for me. I get system overload very easy. But see, there are some people who thrive off of chaos. Their default is anger. One person that I have really noticed that is in the news right now is the baby. That boy has so much anger and chaos around him. He has the most chaos energy that I have seen in anyone in a while, especially a person that is at his status. He has killed somebody, whether it be self defense or what, you still killed another person. So there is going to be a problem there, even if it's self defense. You still have to deal with that. You took someone's life. So there is still a karma exchange there. You kill someone. So there's that. There's him getting into fights. There's him recent he fought his baby mama's brother, and then the other day he had a fight with he shot at somebody who they say was trying to come on his property. He shot that person. They survived. And then the other night, he got into a physical altercation with another artist. Chaos energy. So, somewhere he has a lot of unresolved trauma. When you are constantly fighting, constantly, something is going on because that's not normal. And I don't care how y'all want to justify, that type of energy. That energy is not normal. There are some unresolved issues there. I don't like arguing either. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to argue. If I'm talking to you and you don't understand my point, or we're not on the same level, if you get to going crazy, the conversation, the conversation is over. I'm done talking. Because I'm not going to sit up and argue with anybody. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to fight. I'm just not going to do all of that stuff. I'm going to try to get my point across, but my getting my point across is not arguing. Once, tempers start to flare or you get loud or whatever, I'm out. I'm done. I'm just not going to deal with that. Yeah, I mean, I am a confrontational person. I'm confrontational. I want to get my point across, and I will. But I'm not going to argue. We're not going to go back and forth. And I think me being confrontational is because when I was younger, I felt like I wasn't heard. I grew up in that generation of a child should be seen and not heard. And I think now that I'm grown, you're going to hear me. You're going to hear me. I have an opinion and you're going to hear it. Because if I have to listen to yours, you most definitely have to listen to mine. That's how I've always felt. Well, since I've been an adult. And, I know now that I can be heard. I have a voice. I can be heard. I'm no longer a child. It's no longer that, I see you. I'm not, um, I'm not, I don't have to just be quiet. And a lot of these childhood traumas result in physical health problems like sleep disorders, eating disorders, your immune system not functioning properly, heart disease. You see a lot of kids who have been, who have dealt with trauma or who have dealt with problems with their parents, because I work with kids in the foster care system. You see a lot of these kids, they cannot sleep. At night is when they really start to act up. And they act up at night because they're either afraid to go to sleep or they can't sleep. So they're up acting up. Your kids don't act up at night for no reason. Them acting out at night, being loud and rambunctious at night could be for a reason. They legit could be scared to go to sleep or they just can't sleep. And that's something as a parent you should be, looking at, especially if you have, teenagers. Is your daughter eating? You know, are you seeing her eat? Are you watching her eat? Is she skipping meals? Is she, hiding in baggy clothes? All of those things, you know, could be a symptom of trauma. Especially in girls, not eating is one of the first things. They will stop eating. Yeah, that was me too, Sundance. I was a very quiet, chubby kid who wore glasses. These are just my readers. I'm supposed to be wearing real glasses, like real glasses. But I don't know what them damn glasses at, and I don't feel like looking for them. But yeah, I've worn glasses since the first grade. So yeah, I did get, picked on. And these are things that we have to be really, as parents and grandparents, we have to be really careful with our children. We should know if, when our kids are acting differently, especially when they're at school. When they come home, are they going straight to their rooms? Are they keeping the door closed? Or, when it's dinner time, are they not coming out for dinner? And I know it's hard, especially if you are a single parent and you're working and trying to keep the house running, but you still have to pay attention to your children. And don't let it, oh, well, I'm going to wait till they're a teenager, before I put them in therapy, or I'm not going to put them in therapy because I don't want people to think that it's something wrong with, that I'm doing something wrong. No, you're doing something right by making sure that your children's mental health is as good as their physical. You take them to the doctor, you take them to the dentist. If it's something wrong with them, you should take them to a therapist. Especially if you know that something has happened to them in their lives. Like my kids, someone passed away when my kids were really young that they were really close to. And I put them in therapy so that they could, deal with that trauma because it was a trauma. So I put them in therapy. That was one thing I did truly believe in, was taking my kids to therapy, taking myself to therapy. And now with social media being the way it is and kids relying so much on social media, so much, the likes and dislikes and followers, and you don't have as many followers as I do. They're putting so much into this. Their whole life is wrapped up in TikTok and Instagram. I don't know, y'all. I know TikTok. How many followers do you have on TikTok? How many this? How many likes? Okay, I got to take this picture. I got to do this. I got to, just me watching my granddaughter post pictures on her social media or telling me, no, don't post that picture of me. And I'm like, girl, don't nobody follow me that follows you. Like, none of your friends follow your grandmother. So I should be able to post any picture of you. But it's that image that these kids are trying to portray of themselves at a young age because of social media. And if I'm not as pretty as this person, I'm not getting as many likes as this person. Oh my God, they saw this on social media. All of this stuff is traumatic to these kids. And if they don't have a way to process these things, if they don't have an outlet, they're going to be messed up adults. And a lot of us are now messed up adults ourselves or in relationships with messed up adults. Nowadays, when you date, you need to be asking people, have you dealt with your childhood trauma? What are some of the things that happened to you in your childhood that, you know, you have a problem with? Forget what kind of car they drive. Have they dealt with their childhood trauma? Forget who they work for. Because you already have your own money. And nowadays men ain't coming up off their money. Have you dealt with your childhood trauma? Do you have mama and daddy issues? Which one? Because all of us have an issue with one of our parents. You either have a problem with your mama or you got a problem with your daddy. Everybody that I have met have a problem with one of their parents. They all do. These are the things that you need to be talking about. How have you processed your trauma? Have you worked through your trauma? Are you a suppressor of your trauma? These are the important questions that you need to be asking people because that's what's important. Because you don't want to be with somebody that has abandonment issues because they're either going to try their best to lock you in and control you, to hold on to you, or when things get bad, they just gonna up and leave, and you're not going to have any idea where they went. But that's their way of dealing with trauma, is to just get away from it instead of working through it. If they don't know how to communicate, if you meet a man and he does not know how to communicate, if you meet a man and he can't even have a decent conversation with you, he cannot communicate with you anything about his childhood, then that's the wrong person. You don't even want anybody that can't hold a decent conversation with you anyway, because they ain't dealt with their trauma. They can't even talk about it. Sundance Girl said, it's my mom right now. It is. It's either your mama or your daddy. At least Sundance Girl is honest because a lot of people are not, they can't even be honest about the problems that they're having with one or the other parent, especially if that parent is absent. I'm telling you, working with kids in the foster care system, children who have been, maybe have a parent in jail, another parent on drugs, it's difficult because if they hate their mama, they hated all the female staff. The things that they couldn't deal with their mother about, they would take it out on us because we were women. I've had so many kids, tell me that they hated me because because I took care of my children and I was a parent. I hate you, you're a B word, you're just angry with me just because I was a mother and their mother was either on drugs or in jail. They had been removed from the home. and they were just angry, just mad at the world. And these kids grow up to be angry adults because a lot of them don't resolve that trauma. And it's crazy that a lot of the kids that I worked in the group home with, some of them have found me on Facebook and, are talking to me. A lot of them, I have found out that, their parents have passed away or, whatever. And these kids, some of these, and they're grown now, they're in their 30s, still have childhood trauma, unresolved childhood trauma. A lot of them do. Abandonment issues, addiction themselves, even after some of them watching their parents go through addiction, they then turn around and do the same exact thing. Knowing that that situation didn't end well for their parents, but they still turned around and repeated that same cycle. And a lot of people that happens to. If you don't resolve that childhood trauma, the thing that caused you trauma, you will turn around and duplicate. You will do it. Or you will get into another situation where that is happening. If you grew up in a chaotic household or a household where people were addicts and, doing drugs and stuff, you will do the same thing because that's normal for you. Will you hush? That's somebody is at the door. Somebody will get it. That's normal for you. That's what you understand. And for some people, that's what you feel comfortable in. You are comfortable in your trauma because you don't know what it's like to live a normal life. You don't know what it's like not to be in that trauma because that trauma is normal for you. Hey, everybody that I didn't speak to, that trauma is normal for you. You're used to it. That's what you thrive off of because a lot of people have not seen normal behavior. Even in the group home, we could not replicate the family dynamic. We could not replicate the mother, the father, just, a couple of siblings in the house. It was staff, the people that worked there, and the children. Now, normally the kids we did sometimes have situations where it may have been uh, some kids that come in that were related. But normally the kids would come in not related to any of the other children. So these are a lot of children coming from different walks of life, but they all had trauma. Living together under one roof, sharing all of their trauma. You got a kid that's been abused, you got a kid that's been abandoned, you got a kid whose parent is in jail, you got a kid who's never really been taken care of the way that they're supposed to. They don't even understand that, it's not normal to get yelled at, or it's not normal to be hit and beat in order for you to go to bed. We had kids who would steal food because they didn't have the understanding that you're gonna eat here every day. You don't have to hoard food. You don't have to steal food because we're going to feed you. This is not a situation where you have to worry about where your next meal is going to come from. You're going to eat. But if you're in a situation where food was scarce and you're used to hoarding food, then you continue to do that because you don't understand that, these people are going to take care of me. I'm going to eat. Lady Hathor said, I was in a group home for a few months. It was rough. When I first got there, the staff and other girls there would pick with me. Yeah, because, like I said, all of the kids are going through their own trauma, and the new kid would always get picked on. And no matter how much we try to, you know, separate the kids and keep the kids active mentally and engage with them and do activities with them, they would still have time to clash with each other, fight with each other. Like, the trauma would come up, and a lot of that trauma would come up at night. Nighttime was the worst time with the kids because the group home that I worked at, we had 18 kids, and you trying to wrangle these all of these kids in the bed in their rooms, stay in there with the door closed at a certain time. It would be hell at night, every night. And we couldn't do the melatonin. You know how y'all, some of the, I be watching and reading all of these comments where everybody is doping up their kids with melatonin. Y'all don't realize that you messing up their regular sleep schedule? Melatonin is not supposed to be taken every night. You're only supposed to take melatonin when you're really having a problem sleeping. That is not something you give the kids because they getting on your nerves. So I'm gonna give them some melatonin to knock them out. No, you are messing up their regular sleep schedule. But that's the thing now. This whole melatonin craze is a thing. We are raising a bunch of kids who are really going to have a hard time sleeping because they're going to be addicted to melatonin. So, um, Sundance Girl said the staff should be doing that. They should know better. My father was so mean and mistreated me really bad. I cut him out of my life 6 years ago, and I'm still angry. I don't think I'll ever forgive him. Lady Hathor, you have to. You have to do that. You have to forgive him. You have to get over that anger and forgive him so that you can move on. Some kind of way you're going to have to work through that if you go to therapy or whatever, but you are going to have to process those feelings. You going to have to go through all of the stuff that he did to you, all of that mistreatment, and you're going to have to forgive him so that you can move on, because holding on to anger does not do any. Holding on to anger is like a cancer. It does not do any, it does not serve us any purpose. It just eats at us, because anytime you're angry at somebody else, especially another man, that anger that you have for your dad is going to come up too. When somebody does something to you, that's the same thing my daddy used to do. That's why I can't stand him. You have to forgive and move on. And I'm not saying that you have to have a relationship with the person, but you have to forgive them. You have to release that anger because it does not serve you any purpose. None. Holding on to anger, it don't do nothing for you. It's not helping you. It's hindering you. It's messing up your life. Adults shouldn't be picking on children and they should know, but yeah, they should. I agree with you. I mean, the place where we worked, we were, we really would be trying to help the kids, but we weren't, all of us were not therapists. You know, the kids, some of those kids really did need some deep therapy. Now, some of the kids were in therapy, but I don't believe that the therapy was deep enough. And then some of the kids would just go to therapy and really weren't there to resolve their issues. They were just going to therapy because they know they had to go to therapy. They really weren't getting to the root of their problem. Lady Hathor said, but she ended up getting fired a month after I left the program. When I found out, I laughed. I felt she got what she deserved. Well, if she was a staff person and she was picking on you, then yeah, she did deserve to. She should not have been working. Yeah, we can always forgive a person and not deal with them. There are people in my life that I don't want to hold on to anger, um, period. Especially from another person, something that a person did to me. If I can't tell them um what they did, like I know that they're not going to hear me, they're not ready to listen to what they've done to me, I still either write it down in a letter, burn that letter, tear it up, whatever you have to do. Just get all of the stuff off your chest and move on. You have to move on. You cannot hold on to a lot of anger and unresolved issues. That's the kind of stuff that gives you high blood pressure and, gives you diabetes and, helps keep your blood pressure high every time you see that person or every time somebody mentions that person, you get upset. That's not helping you. That's not doing anything but making you sick. Sundance Girl said, my mom was hard on me, but gave me everything I needed. I never went hungry, always had food and bedding. That's, you know, all good parents. That they're, a lot of the stuff that we get mad at our parents about is some of the stuff that they think is best for us. They're doing what is best or what they think is best. They're not trying to hurt us. Sometimes we may get, hurt in the process because what we think is best as kids is never what's best because we're children and we don't know what's best. And we want to do what we want to do. We don't want to listen to our parents because we think we know it all. All teenagers think that they know it all. They've gotten to the point where, of course, they have minds of their own and, they're thinking a little more critically, not a lot. In that little critical thinking, they think they know it all. But no, your parents know more than you will ever know because a lot of the things that you are going through, they have already been through it. Yeah, and yeah, there are parents who do things wrong, but a lot of them are doing things wrong because they don't know. They don't know. They don't know what to do. They don't know any better. They haven't been trained. You know what I mean? They haven't resolved their childhood issues. They may have been abused as a child. Who's to say that your mother wasn't abused or your father wasn't abused? And then he turned around and did the same thing to you, what some people call generational curses. He was abused, so then he in turn abused you. And then you grow up to abuse your children because you think it's normal. Even if you don't think it's normal, you will still do it because it's in you, because you've seen it so much that you just do it. Just out of reflex, when your child does something, you just slap them. It just comes so quickly. Like I saw a video on Facebook of a little girl. She looked maybe about 3 or 4 years old. And it looked like she had gotten in the kitchen in flour or something because the little girl was like covered in flour. And she's coming out of the kitchen. I don't know who's filming. You nowadays you don't know. She's coming out of the kitchen and she's got all this flour on her. And some adult knocks the hell out of her. I mean, just hits her in her back so hard that you see the flour fly off the baby and the baby falls, and then the video ends. Now, this child, what they did was wrong, but did she have to hit the baby, or she or he have to hit the baby so hard that the baby got knocked down? Some of that is reflexes because you're so used to abuse. You don't know any other you don't know any other type of discipline to resort to because the only discipline you're used to is physical. Melissa said, "Yes, it stopped with me." I said, "No more. Refuse to put my children through what I went through. Honestly, I had to give Jesus the wheel. I couldn't do it in my own strength without him." You got to give it to somebody. And I do. I am a Christian. I do believe in prayer, the power of prayer. I believe in faith and all of those things. But I do believe in therapy because I believe that Jesus or God gave people knowledge for a reason. He gave doctors and sociologists and psychologists and psychiatrists, he gave them this particular knowledge or this gift of healing for a reason, to help you out. Lady Hathor said, "It sucks having two mentally ill parents." It does. I couldn't even imagine. I had one alcoholic parent who I did not live with, but still, because she was my mother, I still had that trauma knowing that I had a parent who was an alcoholic. So I couldn't even imagine having two parents who were mentally ill, especially having to deal with that as a child. Black Queen said, "I needed to hear this tonight. It answered so many questions. I'm happy for you." Hi, Monteria. Melissa said, "Oh, I agree. I believe in therapy too. had many years of that still needed. I think we all do. There are times when I have, you know, even at my age, been like, should I go back to therapy? But I like talking, you know. I like going to therapy. Like therapy is not one of those, has never been one of those taboo things for me. I've never thought, oh well, I must be crazy if I can sit. No, I've never considered myself crazy. It's just every now and then you need somebody to talk to, somebody that is not going to tell somebody else, or they're not going to, they're not like your best friend who you talk to, and this person may be through the same thing you going through, and they can't really help you. But if you talk to a therapist, you're talking to somebody that don't know you, you know ain't gonna repeat what's going on with you. They not gonna tell their best friend, girl, let me tell you what's going on with Lashana. It's not like that. And that. That your therapist is a safe place for you. And if you really understand the concept of therapy and you are really wanting to do the work, that is where you can unpack all of your trauma, everything. You could just lay all the cards on the table and be like, look, this, unpack it. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people. Like, you're not willing to be honest about what is going on in your life. You lying to yourself. So if you lying to yourself, of course you're gonna lie to everybody else. You are lying. You're a liar. So you're not going to be able to work through that stuff because you lying. Sundance said I should probably be back in therapy now. You can do it online. I like doing it in person though. I like it. Lady Harther says she got picked on a bit in school too. I think we all have unresolved childhood trauma from school. I think everybody, even popular kids, those are the kids we think that didn't go through anything in school. They was going through it too because they weren't as well put together as we thought they were. Like the pretty girl, she had her insecurities and self esteem issues just like we did, but we didn't realize that because we were so into nobody is going through what I'm going through right now. Oh my God. Those teenage angst, where we feel like we are the only person in the world going through what we're going through, and everybody at that damn school was going through something. When I look back now at all of the people that, a lot of the people that went to high school with me, they all fat. They fat. What they teased me about in high school, they are sitting in that shit right now. And I could be petty and remind them. Remember when you used to call me fat? What does it feel like now to be fat? Because all of them are fat. All of the girls that teased me in high school are fat. None of them are married. Not one. The popular girls that teased me, called me chubby, funny looking in high school, they're all fat and none of them are married. But the little fat girl, she married. She got a husband. The little girl that y'all was teasing and said was funny looking, she got a husband that love her. So stuff that go, everybody going through something. Ain't nobody living a perfect life. Nobody. None of us get out of this unscathed. We all got scratches and battle scars, all of us. I got all kind of scars on my knees. I got this scar on the back of like where my Achilles tendon is. There is a scar there that I remember from my bicycle scratched the back of my leg. There are scars on my knees from falling off of skateboards and skating and just being a tomboy. So, can you imagine the scars on our mind and our hearts from the things that we have been through that have scabbed over, or the things that are still there that are still raw because we refuse to work through them? Just sores, wounds that have not been healed, that for some people are festering, making you sick, making you angry, making you anxious because you won't heal them. Now, the person that hurt you, they done moved on. They probably done forgot that they forgot you even exist. Cause let me tell you what happened. This boy slapped me in the 6th grade. He thought that I said something and I didn't say it. And he hit me, slapped me. I ran into him some not too long ago. And we had all like got in this group on Facebook. All a lot of us that went to high school together got into this Facebook group and we were all talking one day. And I asked him, did he remember when he slapped me? And he was like, no, I do not remember that. But he was like, I am so sorry. I remembered. I remembered he slapped me in the 6th grade. And this was some years ago that we had this conversation, and he has since passed away. And at the time, I think he had just like found out he had cancer, and he was like, I please forgive me. I mean, he literally begged me to forgive him. And he was like, I do not, I don't remember that I did that to you, and I'm so sorry. But I remembered. I remembered. And that's the same thing with a lot of you. Your abuser probably don't even remember they hurt you or don't care, but you remember. Now, I didn't hate this person. Didn't have any hard feelings because I hadn't seen this person since high school, but I didn't forget that it happened. And I told him, no, I forgive you, but I just want to know, did you remember? And he told me no. That speaks volumes about how many other girls have he slapped. He used to get into fights a lot. He was, aggressive. But as an adult, he was Christian. He was, very much into church because his whole Facebook page was, him going to church services and like he had legit changed his life. And I told him, when we had the conversation that, hey, I didn't hold that against you, but I just want to know, did you remember? Because I did. But that's normally how it is. Someone will hurt you and they will move on. And you're still carrying that hurt because you still remember. You don't forget, but they do. But I wasn't carrying any um like, had I not saw him, or had we all not been talking, or in this Facebook group together, that probably never would have came up. But when he was in the group, it just popped back up in my mind, and I asked him, did he remember? I don't want to miss anybody's. Let me look on here, y'all. Ooh, for some reason I can't see the chat. Yeah, the chat's not showing up. Yeah, I don't know what's going on today. Um, Someone said, I think about the girl I hurt in school. I would hug her now and say I'm sorry. Who did you hurt in school? My mother won't even apologize to me for the way she treated me. But this talk helped so much for me to understand just to forgive and move on from that bitter seed that was planted in me. You have to. You have to. Because sometimes you don't get an apology. Sometimes people, don't think that they did anything wrong. Like your mother could believe that what she did at that time in her mind was right. And she's not going to apologize. Because there are some things that I have done, I'm pretty sure, to my children, and I felt like at the time they were right. Now, there was an incident that happened to me recently that I had to apologize to my son about because I felt like what I did in that situation could have been handled differently. And I apologized to him and asked for his forgiveness. But if I feel like in a situation I'm right, and the person talks to me about, we sit down and we have a conversation about it, I'm going to, listen to their side of the situation, and I'm going to tell them why I did what I did, and hopefully we can come up to some type of agreement, especially if I feel like I'm right. Monteria said, if you remember her name, have you researched her on social media? Research her on social media and tell her that you're sorry. You never know. Like, she may feel so good to hear that. Like, that could make that person's day for you to say, hey, I know I did something when we were younger. I was wrong and I want to apologize to you, and just leave it at that. You could really make her day. Sundance Girl said, I would chase her around the playground and physically scratch her up. I was so mean to her. Like, girl, what was going on with you? Like, what was your issue? Like, was something going on with you at home, or was you just a little mean kid? You was the little schoolyard bully. You was the because it's always one girl at the school that's mean for no reason. You was that little girl. You was that little mean girl. Monteria said, Omotion, what was your relationship like with women? Considering the fact that you didn't live with your mom, did that affect your thoughts and friendships with women? I was adopted by a mother. I grew up with a mom. I just didn't grow up with my mom. I was adopted and raised by a woman, a very beautiful woman, a very loving and caring woman. So I don't have no problems with women. I don't have any problems with friendships. I love women. I'm very, I was extremely close to my adoptive mother until she passed away. Very close. Like if people would call her my adopted mom, I would get mad. I'm just referring to her as adopted mother so you guys understand who I'm talking about. But I was very close to her. It was just like she gave birth to me. And that was, basically how I wanted everybody to treat her. Like she gave birth to me. Like my biological mother, I felt like there was a disconnect. Like there were times when I didn't even feel like she gave birth to me. Like in my mind, I didn't feel like she gave birth to me. So I always said that we didn't even look alike when I was young. I didn't see any resemblance of myself in her. Everything I saw in my mother that raised me. Even though we were not related biologically, she was my aunt. She was married to my uncle, my biological uncle. She was his wife. So we were not related biologically. We were related through marriage. But that was my mother, you know, in by all standards, because she was the one that, took care of me when I was sick, cooked. She was the best cook in the world, old fashioned, took me to church, all my morals and values and standards and, religious foundation, all of that stuff comes from my mother. So I have a great relationship with women. Sundance Girl said I was jealous of her because she was pretty and light skinned and I'm dark skinned, but the girl liked me and wanted to be my friend. She probably liked you to for you to stop beating her up. I'm gonna be your friend so we can stop fighting. And Sundance, that is a whole nother video. That whole light skinned, dark skinned, the relationship between light skinned girls and dark skinned girls, that's a whole video by itself. That's why you did all of that, because you were insecure and you had low self esteem and you felt the light skinned girl was more pretty than you. In high school, she came over with a group of girls. I told her to get off my porch. Was they trying to beat you up? They came to the house, they was gonna beat you up, girl. See, you was the bully. And I knew a lot of dark skinned girls who were like that. They would fight. And a lot of it was jealousy. I'm jealous of the other girl. So I'm jealous of you, so I'm gonna beat you up. I had a lot of kids who were jealous of my hair growing up because, I had kind of long hair and their hair was more 4C ish and, wasn't like mine because my hair has always been kind of soft and curly, wavy. It's still 4C. But if you put the right lotion or whatever. Back in the day, your mama used to put lotion in your hair. And if you put lotion on my hair, it used to get wavy and curly. And there were girls who would, pull my hair and be hating on me because my hair was curly. Like, girl, I didn't make my hair. It just did that. It wasn't my fault that it did it. Oh, she was trying to be your, yeah, they was probably trying to be your friend to keep you from fighting. They was trying to be your friend to keep you from fighting them. It was always that mean dark skinned girl or the mean girl that used to stink. They have one of those at every school. Always. And they had to figure out, what was going on. And when you're young, you really don't understand, how to handle those emotions, how to handle that jealousy and, that you may have for other people. And the only way that you know how to handle that is to lash out. And you don't have the ability to communicate those things. You can't go home and say, Mom, why am I dark skinned? Or, because your mother is going to be like, you dark skinned. Because I used to do that. I used to go home and be like, why am I fat? I don't want to be fat. I don't, and I wasn't fat. Like I was chubby, but I wasn't like fat. But I didn't want to be chubby because, the girls that I wanted to look like, they weren't chubby. And I used to go home and tell my mother, like, I gotta go on a diet because I don't want to be the chubby girl. And my mother used to be like, there's nothing wrong with you. And if the kids are teasing you because you're chubby, that's their problem, not yours. You're beautiful. All of those things that you don't want to hear because when you go back to school, the kids are still calling you the chubby, four-eyed girl. And you don't want to be that. So, yeah, girl, elementary school, I wasn't chubby. I didn't really start getting chubby until like 6th grade. 6th grade, I started gaining weight. And it was just, it was too much. Like, pick a struggle. You can't be chubby and wear glasses. You can only do one. Like the chubby kid can't wear. Thank God my glasses wasn't like super thick. They were just regular glasses. Because there were kids in my class who had like real thick glasses. Like they got messed with. You can't have, when you in elementary, junior high school, you can't have more than one thing wrong with you. And I had a few. I was chubby, I wore glasses, and my mama dressed me funny. I was the only one in the 6th grade coming to school in a three-piece suit. A three-piece polyester suit. My mama, I had a tailor. I was probably the only kid in the 6th grade that had a personal tailor that they would go to. And my mother would buy the material. And this woman would literally make the whole, she had the pattern and she would make everything in that pattern. So if it had a skirt, it had a vest, it had a jacket, it had some pants. The only thing my mother would have to buy was, a little shirt to wear up under it. I'm at school in a whole polyester three-piece suit in the 6th grade. Yes, I was. And my mother thought I was clean. Do you hear me? Her child was clean. She was clean as a board of health. My mama would be like, you sharp as a tack. And here I am looking like a damn fool going to school in the 6th grade in a three-piece polyester suit. If our photo albums wasn't packed up, child, I would show y'all. Polyester suit. I'm going to school in a polyester suit, child. Three piece. I'd be hot as hell. And my mother would get the material. She would, and it was like mix and match. So, one day I'd have on the little maybe red plaid jacket with the one color pants. Child, I was doing it. Okay. And the kids was laughing at me. They were. So here come Lashana in her three-piece suit. I caught hell in them little plaid suits, my little boots. My mama thought I was clean. She was sending me to school dressed to kill. Okay. I was the only one out there in a whole suit on the playground playing in a three-piece, in a whole three-piece suit. Blazer. Blazer. Do you hear me? Jacket, vest, pants. I was there, hair done up. I had everything except for my purse and them long gloves that they wore back in the day. Yes, I was clean. She may as well had just gave me the whole thing because she sent her daughter to school clean, and the kids picked on me. They did. Girl, I had to wear that suit. We had to mix. She mixed and matched the pieces. I had to wear that all year. Now, every now and then, she would throw in a pair of jeans, but my mother wasn't. She didn't really like me in jeans and stuff because she didn't think that that was feminine. But she thought that little three-piece suit, the little, it had a skirt. So I did get to, like, I wasn't always in the pants. The pattern had a skirt. I think the pattern had like this little romper dress. So, it was like a little dress and you could wear a little shirt under it. Whatever that pattern had, the lady would just make the whole thing. So, it was mentioned, you could match it up. Sometimes I may wear the little dress with the little jacket. I was dressed. I was best dressed in the 6th grade. Couldn't nobody touch me. I was walking out of one of the magazines for old women. And I was in the 6th grade. So yeah, girl, we didn't all had, I done been through some shit with other kids. But after a while, I think the kids just, that's just her. That's her style. And they just left me alone. It just, became normal for me to come to school in a suit. It was just normal. And the kids just, after a while, they just left me alone because that was just my little style. I come to school in my little go-go boots. But you have to remember, though, this was the 70s. This was the 70s. So, it was the style. We're not talking about the 2000s. We're talking about the 70s. So, yes, the simplicity pattern. And you had various pieces yes, that was it. That was it. That was it, girl. And the lady would make all of them. She would make them all. She would tell my mother how much um she would tell my mother how much material to get. I'm trying to see if okay, okay. Here we go right here, y'all. So see how it's the little blazer with the skirt, the pants, a little dress, and then some more little pants and another little dress. So the lady would make all of the outfits in different colors. She would make them all. Everything that was on the pattern, she would make. So that was me in the sixth grade. That was me. In the sixth grade, I had all these outfits with some little go-go boots. And that's how my mother sent me to school. Just like this, she would make everything. The little lady would. I remember going to her house and, the little lady measuring me before school would start. My mama was like, "You gonna be clean. Oh, wait till Miss So and so make your outfits." And I would go and the lady would measure me and I would be trying on the outfits and stuff. And honey, that first day of school, I stepped out in that three-piece suit and them kids talked about me all day. And I went home and told my mama, and my mama did not care, not one bit. You gonna wear them suits. You gonna wear them. My daughter is gonna be the best dressed kid in the sixth grade. And if anybody say anything about you, they a hater. That was Lucille. They hating on you because they not as beautiful as you. Now you put that suit on and you going to school. Sure would. A whole wardrobe. Oh, you was in a Catholic school, Sundance girl. Girl, I didn't know nothing about adding no extra buttons or try. Girl, I was just trying to live my life. I was. You know what? After a while, it just became that's just who she is. She is the little girl that's gonna wear a suit to school. Every After a while, people just accepted it. I just became that kid. Like it was me, and then it was this little boy that brought a briefcase. He brought a briefcase to school every day. So, me and him were the weird kids. But after a while, kids just accepted me. They didn't trip. But that first week was hard because, I was coordinated. Everything matched. Like I was coming through. Like I was runway. I was coming through. New York Fashion Week had nothing on me. My mama bows, barrettes, all that stuff matched. I was clean. Okay. No, nobody else at that school could touch my wardrobe. They couldn't touch my wardrobe. They couldn't. Nobody had a wardrobe like mine. I hated it until it kind of died down and nobody was tripping. I was friends with the briefcase boy. I can't remember what his name is, but that boy took that briefcase. I don't know, maybe his dad, gave it to him or whatever. But yeah, he took that briefcase everywhere. The weird kids had to always stick together. I think the good thing about me though is I was smart. Like I was smart. I could outread and out talk any. I had to be though, because when you funny looking, you funny looking, you gotta be smart. You have to be. So I was reading. I was that kid that would always want to help the teacher, collect the papers, clean the chalkboard. That was me. That was definitely me. So, we done all been through some stuff. I think now that's why I dress so unconventional, because growing up, my mother, made me dress like a little old lady when I was a kid. Like a lot of stuff that other kids were wearing, clothes with a lot of characters on them and all that kind of stuff. My mother didn't like that stuff. So she wasn't dressing her child like that. If it was up to my mother, I probably would have went to school in a fur coat and a Virginia Slim in one hand and a fur coat and my little purse and everything. That's probably how she wanted me to go to school, but she knew that that was too much. So she just put me in the little three-piece suits and you know let me go. Girl, I was cute though. I really was cute. I was a cute little kid. Even though people were like, "Oh, she funny looking." You know, I'm trying to see if I have a picture of me when I was young in my phone. But there are some, junior high school pictures where I kind of look at myself and I'm like, "Yeah, you were going through it." Those transition pictures when you are in junior high school and your face and your body is changing and you're starting to, not have as much of a baby face as you used to, but I did have a baby face for a long time. But you can see yourself maturing. I think we all go through that funny looking stage. I need to show y'all this picture of my husband when he was a teenager. This this is right before we met. Right, probably like maybe a year before we met. I probably would have been I would have been all over him. That 70s look. He had a true 70s look. I'm pretty sure that was like the late 70s because we met in the early 80s. I don't know if I have a picture of me when I was like a teenager. I'm pretty sure I have one somewhere in this phone. I thought it was a picture of me and wait, I'm pretty sure there's one on Facebook of me and my mom. Here's my photos. 'Cause I just saw that picture not too long ago. Damn, I got hella pictures. It's never pictures of me when I was younger though. I know they on a hard drive somewhere. Cause I sure want to show y'all. Cause I know it's a picture of me in that little suit. There are pictures of me in the suit, y'all. But after a while, I had got used to it. And oh, okay. Here's a picture of me. But that was before I got chubby. So I was a cute little girl. I didn't get chubby until um sixth grade. Sixth grade is when I started gaining weight. So I started to get chubby then. And that was when, the kids started. That's when the teasing started. But a lot of that is normal. I can't say that, it was like super bad. Not to the point where I didn't want to go to school or I hated school because I actually liked school. Even going to school dressed like a little old lady, I still enjoyed school because I was smart and I enjoyed being somewhere where I was celebrated and people thought that I was smart. I liked that, you know. So school didn't really. Oh, here's a picture of me and my mother, my biological mother. I think when I have my afro out, I think we kind of look alike a little bit. So, yeah, that's my childhood. My childhood was interesting, very interesting. I rode public transportation to school. The public school picked on me so bad, I had to stop riding the school bus. Wow. Hey, Naya. Yeah, I didn't start riding public transportation until I was in high school because my elementary school wasn't that far from the house. I could walk to elementary school. And then the junior high school that I went to, oh, okay, sweetie. Well, you can always catch the replay. The junior high school that I went to wasn't that far from the house either. So I didn't have to start riding public transportation until I was in high school. And it really wasn't that bad. The catching public transportation wasn't that bad. Because believe it or not, a lot of the kids that I went to school with, we went to elementary school together. We went to junior high school together. There was a core group of us. Of course, every year you go to school, there's always going to be some new kids. But a lot of us went to elementary school together. We went to the same high school, middle school. We went to the same high school because we all lived in West Oakland. We all lived like around the same area. So we all went to the same school. So a lot of us had known each other since we were young. So I was always the chubby, funny dressed kid. I went on to go to high school and still be the funny dressed kid in high school. I still didn't have any style, even in high school. My mother still was dressing me like a little old lady. And I was still the little dressed like a little old lady in high school, like the long skirts with socks and tennis shoes and, just funny looking. But to my mother, I was clean. I wasn't missing no meals. My hair was combed. My clothes were clean, my shoes were clean, and that was what was important to her. All of that other stuff, oh, well, they got their clothes from so and so, and I don't want to get my clothes from JC Penney's. My mother was like, I don't want to hear all that. We gonna get your clothes from where I can afford to get them from, and you gonna wear these clothes, and that's what I had to do. Sundance said, I have no children. If I did, I would send to a private school, not Catholic. I wanted to go to Catholic school too. And my mother was like, we're not Catholic. What, what you want to go to Catholic school for? I just wanted to go to Catholic school so I could wear the uniform and not have to wear the old people clothes to school. I thought that that would help me get away from old people clothes, wearing the uniform. But my mother was like, we're Baptists, we're not Catholic, so you're not going to go to Catholic school. So that threw that out the window. Montoria said, I remember when I went to school and we wore uniforms, there were certain girls that would wear other clothes under their clothes. But now some public schools do wear uniforms. By the time my kids were in elementary school, the I think after they got to like the third grade or something like that, they had instituted uniforms. So they wore white shirts, khaki pants, and green sweaters, I think. I can't remember if it was greens, the boys, if it was green sweaters or blue sweaters. But yeah, they wore uniforms up until the time that they got in middle school, and then it was optional. You could continue to wear the uniform or you could wear regular clothes. And then at that point, they wanted to wear regular clothes because they had wore uniforms like almost their whole entire elementary school career. So when they got to middle school, they were ready to wear regular clothes. And so I did let them do that. Oh, you didn't become Catholic until high school? You said you was Baptist going to Catholic school and confused. See, I think that's why my mom didn't want me to do that because, she didn't want me to be confused. And she didn't want them trying to, put this other religion on me because we did go to the Catholic school because somebody had told her, well, her education is going to be better. It's like going to a private school or whatever. And then I think when they told my mother that, they do go to mass and all this kind of stuff, my mother was like, not my child. We Baptists. We believe in Jesus. And if I ain't Jesus, is wrong. And, all this kind of stuff. So um, I couldn't go to Catholic school. And I only wanted to go for the uniform anyway. So I wasn't really tripping. I eventually just accepted the fact that I was going to be, the little old lady at school. I just accepted that fact and roll with it. I think that's why it's so easy for me to just do whatever, wear whatever, because I was never really accepted. I never, was on trend or anything like that. Like I wasn't like the other kids, like, all the trendy clothes and stuff. My mother wasn't into all that shit. She wasn't buying all that stuff. And I think now that's why I really don't care. I just wear whatever I want to wear. Mix colors and patterns and all kind of stuff. You know, it's just who I am. Like half the time, I'm not even trying to coordinate. I don't try. I just put on whatever is comfortable, like my shoes very rarely match what I have. And sometimes I do it on purpose. I purposely put on another color shoes so that they will stand because I mostly wear Crocs anyway. So I just put on whatever color Crocs I want. They're Crocs. I just wear what I want. I'm a really colorful person, period. If you see me, you're gonna see some colors because I love colors. So I just wear what makes me feel happy. And I'm really hoping that, my granddaughter will understand that if you live your life trying to impress other people, you will be trying your whole life. I hope that's one thing she gets from me is that my granny don't care. My granny is gonna wear whatever she want to wear. She don't care. I hope that's one thing. I hope that she's not always chasing the fad and trying to be popular and trying to conform to what other people are doing instead of just wearing what makes you happy. If plaid and polka dots make you happy, wear it. You know, why not? Sundance said, I don't agree of non-Catholic students going to Catholic school. Hmm. Do you think it's because you don't think like religion should be like forced on people who, don't practice that? Or because I know you do have to go to don't don't you have to go to mass and have to do certain things when you go to Catholic school that you probably wouldn't do um like normal schools don't do? Don't they have to pray or whatever? And I think like your parents should know if you go to Catholic school, you're gonna have to conform to the rules and regulations of said school. So kinda I agree with you. I agree. Especially if it's going to be a situation where, the kid is not going to be comfortable because they don't want to deal with all that. So I kind of agree. But some people put their kids in Catholic school because that is, considered a better education than just going to public schools. Some people do it for that reason. Like the Catholic school kids were always considered like the bougie kids or like the stuck up kids or what when I was growing up, they were. She said, because the Catholic doctrine is false and the child will get confused like me. I agree. I don't know about I'm not going to say that their doctrine is false because it's false doctrine in all religion because it's man-made. But yeah, the confusion of children who are like Baptists or whatever, and then you go to a Catholic school and you have to conform to the Catholic teachings and stuff, then yeah, that's too much. I wouldn't have my kids going through that. My mom wasn't aware the Catholic doctrine is false until I brought it to her attention. But see, that should have been something that she should have understood um before she before she enrolled you in school, because that was definitely something that my mother had like talked to them about before she enrolled me, and they was telling her about the prayer and the mass and all that stuff that the kids have to participate in, and my mother was like, "Oh hell no," because my mother believed that if it wasn't if it wasn't Baptist, then if you weren't Baptist, you going to hell. I think she thought that the holiness people, they was going to hell too, because they was doing too much at church. Their church was too loud. And I think she thought they was going to hell too. If you wasn't Baptist, Baptist was enough for her. If it wasn't Baptist, you going to hell because you don't believe in Jesus the right way. Yeah, but it's false doctrine in all religions. Catholics do things their way, Baptists do things their way, Church of God in Christ do things their way, Muslims do things their way. Everybody got their own way, their own doctrine, their own interpretation of the Bible. When it comes to religion, you just have to find what works for you and do that. That's what I believe at this point. Find what's right for you and stick with that. Hopefully you are able to find something that resonates with your spirit and you go with it, because it's a lot of stuff out there. It is people constantly making up stuff and interpreting things that have already been written, just like this whole thing with carbonation. And this young man being in jail because he has taken a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and put it together, and there you go, you got a whole cult, a whole entire cult. Everybody interprets things differently, and you just have to be careful of what you accept and how you interpret things. Oh, you wanted to go to Christian school? My first husband wanted our kids to go to Muslim school. And when I went there and saw like what they disciplined the children harshly. And, there was this whole separation. The boys and girls were separated. And, I just didn't like the whole feel of. Now, the kids were smart. The kids were smart. They were um, respectful, because they weren't just taught, books. It went into, morality and how, boys should act and how, girls should act and all of that kind of stuff. Like they were very intelligent children. But, I just didn't want my kids at 7 and 8 years old to be hit by men and, be talked to and disciplined harshly. I just didn't believe in that. So they just went to um regular school, just regular public school. I didn't want them going to Christian school or, I didn't want them going to any type of school that had anything to do with religion. I just wanted them to go to a regular school. Yeah, I mean, all of these, Christian schools, Catholic schools, they all have different um doctrine, different way of doing things. And I didn't want my kids, I just wanted them to go to school. Just go to regular school. You have all the time in the world to get indoctrinated into religion. When you get older and you really have a understanding of religion, is, of course, you teach your kids about God and stuff, but I really believe that your true understanding of religion doesn't come until you get older. You just don't really understand it while you're young. You're just accepting, I have to go to church, I have to do this, I have to do that. You have to accept those things because it's what your parents tell you. But you don't really understand it until you get older. Sundance Girl said, I wanted to learn the Bible in school, wasn't learning that in Catholic school. I used to go to, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was this after school program that I went to when I was little, and it was like Sunday school after school. I don't remember what they called it though, but we went to that and we used to go over scriptures. It was kind of like vacation Bible school after school because they tried to make it fun. We would, do art and stuff, but it was biblically based. So we had fun, but it was Bible fun. Like we did flashcards with Bible scriptures and all of that kind of stuff. And it was a after school program. It was similar to Vacation Bible School, but it wasn't at church. It was at a church, but it was in the like church fellowship hall or whatever. It wasn't Vacation Bible School because that was during the summer at the church that I went to. This was another church. This was like a after school program, but it was Bible based. So I remember going to that and I really liked it. Like me and all of the other churchy kids, we all went. I loved Vacation Bible School. I went to that every summer. I mean, to the point where I was, as a teenager, I was one of like the teachers, helpers, and stuff in Vacation Bible School because I had been going since I was a little kid. Like I went to Vacation Bible School forever. Yeah, we had that every year. I used to really like it too. But the after school program I went to, like the bus would come and pick us up, and take us to the school, and then I mean take us to the church, and then they would bring us back to our school. I think it was like an hour or whatever. And we would do Bible verses and play games and stuff that were like related to the Bible. It was fun. I enjoyed it. That was one thing I did enjoy because some of my friends went and it was kids there from other schools. It wasn't just our school. It was kids from other schools. It was other churchy kids. So, that was a time when all of the little churchy kids got together and we would do our little churchy thing. Yeah, see, my friend that lived across the street from me was Catholic. And I went to church with her one time, and it was the most boring thing I had ever been to. And then she came to church with me, and she was just like, oh my God, how do you do this every Sunday? It was just we were just two totally different people. She grew up Catholic, her parents were Catholic, and she had never really been to a Baptist church. I had never been to a whole Catholic mass, a whole service. All right, y'all, we done talked about almost everything. I'm about to get off here. We've been on here almost 2 hours. My throat getting dry. Plus, I'm getting hungry. So I'm about to get off here and eat me something. So we will be back tomorrow. I'm not sure. Oh, I put something on my community wall to see how many people are still um members of the channel. I'm trying to uh I don't know if anybody. Oh, I'm gonna show y'all something tomorrow. And please go and watch the video from my other channel, Living Out Loud. If you look on the community tab, that video is there because I'm going to start putting the vlogs and stuff me and my husband and Gizmo do on that other channel. And this channel will just be, the teachings and talking about, topics and stuff. But all of the vlog stuff, the shopping hauls, when we go out to dinner, and all of that stuff will be on the other channel. And if you go to the community tab, that video is there. So support that channel too, please. Because this morning I went outside and I had two lizards. I was so happy because I was wondering when the weather warmed up, would my little lizard come back? Now, I don't know if that's the same lizard that was there last summer or if this is just a new lizard. But this morning I had two lizards. So I was like super happy. When it heats up, our patio has these bricks. That's how it's made. And the bricks get warm from the sun. And the lizards like to just, lay out on those bricks and, get their heat and stuff. So when I got up this morning, I had two little lizards out getting their sun and stuff. I was so happy. You would have swore I found a pot of gold, child, and I had two lizards. So if y'all want to see my little lizards, you can go to that video because it there is you can actually see them on the video because one of them was sunbathing and he was just sprawled out. So that's it, y'all. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me and listening to me ramble for 2 hours. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you all tomorrow. I love you. Bye.